Okay, so we are doing a appointment at Kashmir today, and I kind of want to walk you through the process of how we're doing it. So we are doing a client who has 3 rows of 24-inch. We always get a lot of comments on the videos when we post her tutorial and like curling her hair. She's the one that I've gotten like 3 million views on my reels. So I wanted to show you what the process is like in real time so you can kind of see. Also, we have our Kashmir merch that we just got in. So your next appointment, if you want to buy a hoodie or a super cute long sleeve, we have those there. So let me kind of show you what we're doing. Okay, so we did foils on Rachel, and this is like my favorite placement to do on people. We work up the back of the head in horizontals. We worked really close to the head, and we did foils horizontally all the way up. You can see she's almost done processing. We used 20 volume, and then we worked up to 25 volume, and we're gonna rinse these in a minute. And we always do a little baby tap on her at the bowl, and we'll kind of show you what that means when we get there. Cool, so we're just removing her foils now. And we did a full head highlight on her today because she needed it. She was getting a little bit dark in the back, but we actually don't do a lot of full head highlights at Kashmir because we don't feel like it's necessary, because the wefts actually do cover a lot and they blend a ton. So we do a full highlight on her maybe like quarterly or even like a couple times a year. The rest of the time is partials with her, and she's even more of a high maintenance client who does partials every like 7 weeks. A lot of our clients don't do partials that often. They do partials like maybe every 2 appointments, and then they'll do face frames in between that, and then they'll have like 1 or 2 fulls a year. So she's definitely like one of our blondest clients, and she still has dimension because we feel like that's necessary in order to make her extensions look super natural, because her hair isn't super long naturally, and she's wearing like really long extensions. Okay, so these are her 3 rows that we just washed and glossed. So she is processing right now, and we just glossed these, so they need to be blow dried. And then we're also going to be adding some new hair into her rows as well, just so she has a little bit more fullness and a little bit more length. Okay, so this is what we do with, wouldn't you say, like the majority of our colors. We, if anything, just do like a tap. So we're going through with, what are we doing? 8-1?
8-1 and 10 volume.
We're using Alpha Parf Colorwear, and this is a demi-permanent cream, and we're using a 10 volume, and we're just literally tapping her highlights. So I'm just going through and like doing a baby tap, and then we actually like to do the gloss straight away right after, right on top, and that creates a really soft diffusion for us and also gets the whole process done a lot faster versus doing it like one and then rinsing it and then doing another and then rinsing it. That's gonna take you like an extra 15 minutes once everything's said and done. So that's just not time that we're willing to do. So if you have issues with your root taps ever looking like really spotty or anything like that, I would recommend doing this technique instead, where you kind of do one after the other, because you're not getting those spots because you're using your all over gloss to diffuse that root tap a lot. As you can see, I left like the first inch, if not more, of the hairline out. And I might not even, on Rachel, go through and root that. Like I might not even do that because I want her to feel super blonde around her face. I more just do this little tap just to diffuse the back. But I want her to feel like really blonde, so I left it out. And I'm just doing soft diagonal backs, just, but you could work up horizontal section all the way up if you wanted to, no problem. Okay, so Emily and I just finished doing the root on this. We were really quick because we worked together. That's another benefit of being a client here, is we do a lot of teamwork where we like tag team stuff, so we get it done really fast. So back to rooting everything, we just did a tap, and then I'm just going through section by section, and I'm just kind of combing through, but I'm not combing through this line right here. I'm just leaving that, and I'm gonna go through with my gloss, and I'm just going to use my brush to kind of just like blend it back and forth, and then I'll go through and apply and marry it all with the rest of it. This is how we do like 99% of the rooting and smudging here. I've found that this is the most foolproof way to do things, so I don't get weird spots or track lines or any kind of smudges that I don't want. So we'll let that sit for maybe 5 to 7 minutes. And you can see I left her entire hairline out at this point. I am not even rooting or smudging that. That's situational depending on the client, depending on like what they want, and as far as like if they want their hair to be super blonde around the face or if they don't want that. So that's situational depending on the client, but I'm not going to root this. I'm just gonna go straight in with my all over gloss and just apply that right there. So I just made sure that my foiling was really clean cut and seamless around her face so that I didn't have to smudge anything out. So it'll grow out nice and seamless. So again, we'll let this sit for like 5 to 7 minutes and then we'll rinse her, and then we're gonna get on with putting her rows in. Okay, so we just went through and beaded her first row. So you can see all of our contact points are kind of spaced out apart and they're really comfortable. So you can see like her beads aren't, you know, making any like tension spots. They're like happy where they're living, and we even have spaces in between. And this is the point where we actually attach the extensions to, is right here. So if you go all the way around the head, you can see how comfortable that is. And also she has 3 rows. So we do 3 rows because her hair is pretty short and she wears 24-inch. So we want it to be really nice and full. So usually they'll wear like a 3rd row or a main or a mini row if they want like a blending piece and we want it to blend in. So like a mini row or a 3rd row is like a layering spot. So I'm just going through and pinning. This is a new weft that we're replacing on the bottom because she had some old wefts in there that needed to be replaced. So we typically replace wefts like every couple of appointments. And because she wears 3 rows, she'll need to replace some hair about every other appointment. And I'm actually clipping this weft to the string track that I just created. So we're actually gonna sew it onto the string track and we're not going to sew it onto the beads. And so because we don't sew it to the beads into their hair, it's a lot more comfortable for when we're like going through and installing the NBR, because it's like doesn't hurt. So that's usually like why extensions are painful, because they're sewing it to your own hair. Okay, so we are on our 3rd row. You can see the 3rd doesn't go all the way as high up. So if you come close, I can show you where her last row, or we started her last row. This is her main row. This is how high up it goes. And that's so she can get all the fullness around her face here. And then the 3rd row just goes a little bit behind that. So I'm gonna go through and stitch all of this and then we'll style her and everything. Here's all of her hair. It's all installed now. We added a few pieces. So, I mean, it doesn't really, a lot doesn't need to be done, but I do need to just like clean up some of this because it's a little bit choppy here. So I'm not trying to cut a ton of length. So there's 2 lines here, one here, and I'm just marrying those together with my shears.
You got it.
I always tell people too, like height really matters. So long wefts just aren't, you know, short wefts aren't really going to look as long on you. Okay, so this is how we style all of our guests at Kashmir. So I am sectioning off her hair starting from the top. So the first clip is already sectioned off. It's her own hair. And then this is her 3rd row that we're clipping in. Now I have the main row, clipping that right on top of the next one. And then we'll do her bottom row and clip all of that right on top of the next. So we're using these really big butterfly clips. That's what we like to use. You can use any kind of clip, alligator clip, whatever, but we're actually going to leave all of her hair on the bottom, all left out. This just helps us stay really organized. Another really important part of this is you want to curl their own hair separately from the extensions, because if you curl all of the hair together, especially on these little windows where her own hair is so much shorter than the extensions, if you curl all of that together in one section, it won't blend super well. So we are curling her own hair separately, and we will do this on the underneath, and then we will also do this on the top as well. So we're curling everything away from the face, making sure to blend everything. Whenever we're trying to blend a lot of short layers into long lengths, we make sure to keep everything away from the face just so it all marries and blends together. So I'm going through, I'm using 1-inch sections. I am starting all the way at the top, and then I'm smoothing it before I begin my wave. And then that's kind of how you want it to look, is almost like a little baby cocoon. So again, very small sections, 1 inch, and I'm starting really high up at the top here. So first I'm going to smooth it, kind of warm up my section, and then I'll start all the way at the top. And then you can see I'm holding the tail of the hair with my other hand as I'm feeding everything through. So holding the tail helps me kind of feed everything through so it just blends and is easier to like get through that iron. So once I run out of room on the iron, then I'm going to twist and kind of give myself more room, and then I'm going to just go on and on and on like that. So again, doing another section, here we go, smoothing out, starting all the way at the top. I'm going away from the face, I'm holding the tail, just making sure like I have as much hair in the iron as I can. That's going to keep consistency. This is why we like the really long irons, especially with hair that's really long like this. So we curled all the hair, and then now I'm curling her own hair, which is obviously very short. That's why we need a third row. I'm making sure to do this separately from her wefts. This will help ensure that everything will blend super well and that it won't look weird, and it will blend and the little short layers won't pop out. So I'm still using very small sections. I'm still curling everything away from the face, and I am making sure to keep that curl all the way up to the top so that everything marries and blends together. It will look super wavy and super curly at the end, but she loves her hair really, really curly like this when we do it, because this helps her hair not have to be curled for literally like 4 or 5 days. So this is like where the magic happens. This is where we brush everything out. We have like 3 people filming. We've got Haley, we've got Hayden, we've got Emily. Everybody's, waiting for this moment because these are the bigger moments that happen at the very end of the appointment. This is how we film all of our brush out videos. So we always start with head brush from bedhead. This is actually a shine spray. It's not a texture spray. Shine spray all the way because this helps the video and the hair look really, really glossy. So I go through and just mist the whole thing with that, especially on their own hair if I am using new wefts, so that their own hair can have that same type of finish, of glossy finish like the extensions. And then I'm using a really wide tooth comb, just going through and basically raking out those waves. I don't like to use my finger because it's not enough, but then I also don't like to use a brush because it's too much. So I find that this little special comb has just enough separation in between the teeth that it really like blends everything together. So you can see like everything's all done. I just noticed when I finished, I needed a few more layers around her face because I switched some pieces of hair around. So I'm taking my texture shears and just adding a couple more little soft layers around her face. This is going to help her own hair marry into the extension so everything looks more natural. So this is something you can do once you've already styled their hair. You can just add a little bit more with the texture shears. You don't want to do too much because you don't want to cut any holes in her hair, but if you're seeing some heaviness, you can definitely go through and just add little bits of softness. So this is the end of the appointment. This is the final look. We used 3 rows of natural bearded rose. We did a full color and some new hair. She's wearing 24 inches. So if you guys want to know more about NBR Extensions, you can actually click the link below. You can see like this is so seamless. This is the stuff we love. We love these after shots because even with 3 rows, which is the max we do, you can't even see her extensions. So we love it. If you love it too, click the link to learn a little bit more about Kashmir.